Hello, my name is Dani. I am a nurse by background, and I began doing the School of Change Agents when I was a student nurse back in 2013. And I developed loads of great skills from there. And then I redid the School for Change Agents just this last year in the November intake. As a student nurse, I very quickly began interested in a lot of innovation, what was happening, why things were happening, but more just like how organic things move and change and just what happens in the processes. And it got me really interested. So I joined what they call student quality ambassadors, which cover the Northwest. And through that, we were able to join in on quite a lot of pathways, and we were a part of development of new pathways and any transformation that was happening or new development of services. We had like I think it was like a quarterly meeting, and one of the meetings that Helen Bevan actually came to do one of her talks, and she just fascinated me. She absolutely fascinated me when she spoke, just what she was saying, how she was saying it, and things started to make sense about where you kind of fitted in the student journey to where you think you probably hopefully fit as a newly qualified. And she just had me in awe. I love to learn. My career path has taken many different turns, and it's always about learning new things. So when it comes to the school, I thought it would be really good to learn kind of the evidence behind all the things that they were talking about, and all the kind of shifts that she was talking about, and the new power and old power. I loved it. I really enjoyed the evidence behind it, being able to find the references and search further into the research and things that were being done, and it kind of drew me to many other things then that developed throughout my students before I qualified, and then has continued to kind of help me develop as I've become 7 years now qualified. I could stand up and say, actually, have you heard of this new research? Have you heard of this? Or have you done this? Have you thought about this? And it made me more confident to be able to say it, because I'm very much a doer. I'm not one that can sit back and go, this is a problem and this is a problem. See you later. So it got me thinking on that kind of level, really, in a way that I could go to somebody in, I don't know, in an organisation and say, I've heard a lot of nurses are saying this is an issue. Have we thought about it in a different way? I've seen this work in another trust or another ward or another place. What do you reckon to trialing it here? Do you think it might help with that issue? So what allies do I have, and who can I go to next? And it's always that next opportunity. I loved that when Helen said, taught that in one of the workshops. Next opportunity absolutely is. It's about not banging your head against a brick wall for something that's not going to work particularly, but actually, do you have an ability to find another wall to knock on? I did the school again last year, and I think there was two kind of key reasons for that. Is I'm a bit of a null to where my career is at the minute, to where I fit, to where I want to be, and I think I'd lost a lot of my passion, a lot of my power to want to move forward, and I was very much just doing my daily job because it was a daily job. And I kind of stepped away from nursing for a little while, because as soon as I became that nurse, I knew I was doing a disservice to everyone. I swore I'd never be that nurse that I've seen lots and lots of times. And I understand why we get there and I understand how we get there. But I just thought, once I'm there, I need to stop. So by redoing the school last year, it was that reignition of power that in myself that I had, that I knew I could get through what I needed to get through. It was reconnecting with those networks that are just amazing. It's a huge network of people, and the passion and dedication that's in there. And actually, throughout listening to the newer things, because obviously it was very, even though the course hasn't particularly changed in its essence and what it means, but the evidence behind it, the research behind it, and things have all moved on since when I did it. So it was a very much about, if I learn new things again, it'll re-energize me again, it'll re-get me thinking. And I actually participated in it as well in the School for Change. So I was a part of one of the modules, and actually it made me apply for my midwifery. So I've just been accepted onto my midwifery masters to do a conversion course. So in April next year, I'll be starting my midwifery, and I'm going to become a midwife. life. It finally got me sitting down and thinking that I never really knew where I fitted as a nurse, and I never really saw an end goal. As much as I love everything about nursing, I couldn't envision what the future would be. And with sitting down and doing the course and learning about resilience, and okay, what can I do to protect myself, and what can I do here, and listening to some of the amazing speakers that we had, and becoming a pirate, and things like that. It was be more pirate, and it was like, do you know what, I know what my passion is, and I know the big scary thing is education, but actually I know what my passion is, and I know where I want to be. I've just got to do it. And I think to be a leader, you need narrative because it makes you more human. And I think that's the other thing that the schools taught me is the that be my band. It doesn't matter what band you are, it doesn't matter where you fall in the NHS. You all have a purpose, you all have a job, and actually whatever it is that you do, you've all got a narrative because you all got there through some way or other. Something led you to the path that you're in, whatever that might be, whether it be from a porter, a domestic, right up to a consultant. We've all got a story. You met people, and at the time you had no idea who they are, but they could be a CEO of a trust. It didn't matter. We all had a story, and we all had that narrative that could build on, which then leads to better leadership because people know why you're doing it, people know why they want to be involved, and it gives everybody that energy of, okay, this is why we're going to do it together. We did find a connection because actually we'd all got a story very similar, which had led us to, why we believed in something or why we didn't believe in something, or we could all sit there and go, do you know what she's just said really resonates with me. This makes sense. And as more and more people said it, they were like, do you know what, actually, we are a community that are together, but it shows that we do have resilience because one, we're on the course, two, we're openly talking about it and we're able to openly talk about it. And actually there was a few, there's a couple that I've actually met off the side of that where we virtually met, just to chat. There was one particular lady who wanted to meet because she saw me where she was 20 years ago, and she was like, how can I help you so that you don't burn out the way that I did? And it's been a really nice because Twitter as well, bringing that community to the Twitter. If you've got something that's bothering you or you're not quite sure, literally just put it out on Twitter with the hashtag School for Change, and it's amazing the response that you get, and it's amazing the kind of camaraderie people start to develop with you as well, to help you through something that may be a little bit tough. And I suppose it's that imposter syndrome. A lot of us did have that imposter syndrome, and it was really nice to say, do you know what though, I'm looking at you and I'm looking at all the things you're saying, I think you do that and I think you do great, just go for it, what's the worst that can happen? A lot of what I've ended up doing is more outside of my nursing, which is where it's led me to go into my midwifery, where it's led me into the path that I'm in now. So my personal journey and my narrative very much became passionate about changes within my local community. When I back in 2014, I had my son, and I was extremely poorly, and there was no help. There was nothing that I could find. But in my nursing head, I knew there had to be something. But in my mum mind, at the rock bottom, I couldn't find anything. Once I got well, I said, how can I change this? How can I make this better? Because I'm not the only mum struggling. I'm not the only mum in my area. So what I started doing was contacting and finding services who do help parents, and saying, where's your front door? Where do I find you? And they started saying, oh, well, it's this and it's that. And I'm like, well, why couldn't I find you there? And they're like, well, I don't know, what our services are here. We don't advertise it particularly because it's, we don't want to get inundated. I'm like, well, that's not really helpful to me, is it? When, I was at the pits of despair and nearly ending my life, and you're now telling me that you were in existence back then. So what I did was I did an event where I brought all of the services in my local area that did everything for parents or their children or any kind of mental health or perinatal mental health. And I got them in one room and I got them talking. And it was amazing how they didn't even know each other existed. So I had 25 delegates that came, all professionals, all went away knowing of another service that somebody on their books would benefit from. So I've got a mum who'd benefit from you, I've got a child who'd benefit from you. Let's get these connections, let's make pathways easier. I've built on that as we've gone over the last kind of 7 years. And I did another couple of events where we got mums and babies and professionals, told them about each other, and learned more about how parents could find these things. So I've developed a mini director of services now, and it's a one-stop shop for anybody who's struggling with mental health. But we also understand that a lot of mental health is brought about because of, stress of finances, housing, refugee status, lots of other things that build. So it's not just perinatal mental health, it's anything that could affect. So as somebody who's working with families, they can say, oh, do you know what? I didn't know that existed. Now I can tell a mum who comes and says that they're struggling for food, that there's this food bank, and it's on that corner over there, and that's when they run. Or, they're really struggling with finances. What benefits can they apply for? Oh, do you know what? I didn't know they were entitled to all of that. Let's see how we can get them to apply for it. So a lot of my changes have come about more as from a patient story rather than my nursing. And I'm hoping that I'll have a little bit more strength now. So when I go into my midwifery and I can see where things need changing, that it will it will empower me to have more courage to be able to do the things that I didn't necessarily have the courage to do when I was a newly qualified nurse. Because I've got experience now, I've got a network of people around me now that I didn't have before, and I've got a lot of evidence-based information that I know I can use and go, well, actually, do you know what? I know you're saying that's really difficult, but have you seen this? NHS Horizons, or NHS England and I have done this, this, and this. Have you tried it? And it's bringing that courage back, and that's what I'm hoping to utilize the personal fight that I've been able to have back into my career. So part of my role is to actually embed co-production right from the very, very outset. The school's really helped me with that role because I've been able to look at it slightly differently, and I've been able to kind of say, do you know what, actually I understand why people are worried about the ICS, but at the same time, I can understand from my personal side, well, actually, that integrated care and how things work and how people know of each other can really benefit one person. The main strengths are, I think it's virtual, so it can be accessed anywhere. So there's no kind of expectation to be anywhere at any particular time. The fact that it is recorded and live, so I like the fact that if you can attend live, great. You can be involved in them conversations, be a part of the live session, but you get just as much out from being able to catch up and be able to listen along the way and still have those conversations underneath. And I think the biggest asset for me is just, I suppose, the network that comes with it, really, and those cheerleaders, and actually by getting an evidence-based information base of resources that you can go back to when you're trying to bring something into change, or you're trying to think of something new, and then being able to say, do you know what, somebody down in Cornwall or somebody up in Scotland's already tried this. Why don't we, not reinvent the wheel, have a meeting with them, see what they're doing, see how they're doing it, and then together we can work through it. Standing with people, and I think that's the biggest thing about the School for Change is it. And again, it's that band kind of thing, isn't it? It doesn't matter where you are in the spectrum of an organization. If you've got power in yourself to be able to make those changes, you just find that one ally. And I think the biggest thing that I've found is you find people in your area that you didn't know before, and they become another ally. And again, you build that kind of role in, okay, we're all similar thinking people, we've all got similar views, but actually we've all got the same evidence that we need to be able to push things forward. And I think that's the key thing, isn't it? Because a lot of the time it does come back down to that evidence and that research. And with the School for Change, they give you all of that, and you're able to then go to somebody and say, here's my narrative, this is why I'm doing it, but actually this is why it works. Here you go.